Vishy Anand absolutely destroys Levon Aronian in this game. So it was just 24 moves of pure carnage. This is round 5 of the Superbet Rapid and Blitz. So Vishy has won all 4 of the first 4 rounds. 3 yesterday, then 1 today in the first round of the day. Then this is his round 5 against Levon. He had black here. Let's see what happened. So Levon went pawn e4, we had pawn e5, and now he goes with the bishop's opening. So the knight came to f6, now pawn d3. This bishop came outside the pawn chain, knight f3 from Levon, pawn d6. Now both players castled their king, all very standard stuff so far. Pawn c3 from Levon, preparing to set up the big centre. The bishop dropped back to b6. This knight now came to d2, and we had pawn c6 from Vishy. He also wants to try and strike in the centre later on if given the opportunity. So the bishop now dropped back to b3, anticipating that move. Also looking to tuck in here later in the game. Rook to e8. This rook came to e1, and now bishop e6, challenging the powerful light squared bishop. So it dropped back to c2 here. It might look a bit passive, but it's a kind of coiled spring. Later on, white goes pawn d4 here, and then this bishop supporting e4. Later on, it can also get very dangerous if black goes d5 and the centre opens up. So knight beats d7 from Vishy, now pawn d4, and now because that bishop's left this diagonal, Vishy activates this one a bit more. He pins that knight. So pawn h3 put a question, it dropped back to h5 here, and this is where Levon goes for it. This is rapid chess, of course, so he chucks that g-pawn, kicks back the bishop, and now he takes on e5. The knight recaptured, Levon chops that one off, and now here Vishy makes an imprecise move, so he should take with the pawn to clamp on this f4 move. He takes with the rook, and now Levon really misses a shot. He should go king to g2, stepping away from this pin. And now f4 is a massive threat. d5 would seem to be the best move, but then f4 anyway. The rook is attacked, f5 is coming. You'd be forced to give up the exchange with something like this. Taking with check, we have this exchange here. And yes, black is a pawn up, but white has the exchange, shouldn't be enough compensation. But Levon missed this one. He was trying to punish that rook coming to e5 in a different way. He probably sensed it shouldn't be on that square. And so after this move of takes on e5 with the rook, Levon played knight to c4, hitting that rook, hitting this pawn, but he'd overlooked a tactic here. And Vishy, of course, found it. Can you find the move to win for black? And if you're enjoying this video, do hit that like button, let me know, and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already to never miss a future video. So the move here for black is knight takes on e4. So you're literally leaving this whole rook on prise if white wants to take it, because now you're crashing through on f2. That pawn's critically weak. Now you're hitting the queen here, say it came to e2. Well, now you could chop on c2. Let's say the queen recaptures. Well, now you could take this knight, or even stronger is invading with the queen on that h4 square. And there's always these threats of discovered knight moves in the air. And say you tried to block the diagonal with bishop to e3. Well, now we invade with the queen. King f1, you can check here. Now the king can't take the knight because then we've got this skewer. We're picking up the queen at the end of the line. Say instead of taking the knight, you tried to run here. Well, now we pick up on e3 with check. You've blocked the rook's protection. Just none of it's working. You'd have to come back here, and the position's falling apart for white. So that's why white can't actually take the rook on e5, and Levon didn't do that. And equally, if you chop this knight on e4, well, now the rook can recapture. And here you're basically just resigning yourself to being a pawn down. We could have a line like this, queen recaptures, black's a clean pawn up, doing really well. So we didn't have either of those moves played. Instead, Levon actually took the knight on b6 here, the bishop rather, and can you find Vishy's follow-up move here to carry on the attack? So here he played the exceptional knight takes on f2. So he's hitting the queen here, And if the king captures, well, then we play this queen h4 check move again. Now the king would likely come back here to hold on to the rook, but then we crash through here with check. Now you could have king f2, we check from here, the king goes away, and now we're picking up the bishop here, supported by the queen. Once again, everything's just falling apart for white. So you can't actually take that knight on f2, it's completely immune, and so Levon played queen to d2 instead. And now more fantastic calculation from Vishy. He takes on b6 here with the queen, again leaving his knight to be captured, because this time if you take it, we can pick up on e1 with check, and the queen can't recapture because it's pinned to the king. So we didn't have the knight being taken. Levon took this rook on e5, and once again Vishy doesn't play the obvious move, he plays the precise tactical move. He takes on g4 using this discovered check, and the knight also covers these dark squares. That's the beautiful thing about the attacking force of knight and queen. So you can't drop the rook back, for example, or then we take here, say queen recaptures, and once again we're picking up that loose bishop on c2. So after knight takes on g4 here, Levon went king to g2, and now simply takes on e5 was played. Levon took here, pawn recaptures, Levon picked up this d6 pawn, but queen b5 was played, holding the knight, threatening to come in on this e2 square. So Levon dropped back, knight d3, look at that octopus piece, pawn b3 was played, preparing pawn c4, but now queen d5 check was actually the final move of the game. Here Levon resigned. The rook's coming to the e-file, the queen and knight are still attacking, the king's ripped to shreds, plus Vishy is 2 pawns up. Devastating attack by Vishy, he's so on fire, and these are the results of the day. So he actually won 2 of his 3 games, he drew 1 with Jan Krzysztof Duda, but he remains top of the table by a good distance, and he's having just a phenomenal tournament. If you enjoyed this game and want to catch up on his round 1, click here. Thanks for watching, see you soon.